Can we get a wave? For those that can we just see your beautiful faces, please? Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to this oh yes, love it. Hearts, clapping hands. We see you. Drop a message in the chat as well. Just say hi, introduce yourself as well, what you're about. I'll start. Hi, everyone. My name is Gamu, Gamchiraimbetu. That's the full name, that's the government name. Um, I'm chapter lead here, BYP Channel Islands. We are at the Wellbeing Hub. From where I'm sitting right now, I can see the harbor, but it's completely dry. All the ships are stuck, all the ships and boats are in mud because the tide is really low. But that means it's a beautiful day. That means it's dry. That means it's sunny by our standards. So we're pretty happy. I'm here with the team. Hello, and and more. Sorry, before I turned around, there were less people. Now there are more people. So it's an exciting time that we're looking forward to here. Um, we will start shortly, but just to let you know, I don't want to give you guys my back ones that are here. Hello, welcome. Thank you. So BYP originally stood for Black Young Professionals Network. Initially started in London, and now there are chapters all around the world. Of course, young is very relative, right? So, so if you feel young, you're welcome. We've got Okay here who can tell us more about what BYP Network is about. She's the community lead for BYP, so she keeps all the different chapters going. And we've also got the team here from Channel Islands. We've got Opwe here. I don't know the, yeah. And we've got Caroline as well. And we've got Darlington, who's also our speaker, but he's going to introduce himself in full just now. Yeah. Sorry, guys, for those on the that are not here, but those that are here, you're welcome to get some food before we get started. We've got full food, or as you like, as we go. You're welcome to have some.
I
Yeah.
guess that's what those online are missing.
I know, right? But we'll enjoy it for you. It's okay. We got you. Okay, if I can give over to you just to explain more about BYP, and then we can, Darlington can start promptly at 1:45.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. A big shout out to Gamu, the BYP Channel Island chapter lead for hosting this event, for coordinating this. Thank you so much, Gamu. Hello, everyone. Once again, we're super excited to have you all here. I'm Okay, Community Executive at BYP Network. BYP was founded to connect Black professionals to career and job opportunities, and we have a career advancement platform. We have the job board that helps to connect Black professionals to career opportunities. And we also have communities like the Channel Island chapter community. We have globally, we have in Lagos, we have in Budapest, we have in different regions just to ensure that Black professionals have the community where we can all come together, learn from one another, and share our experiences with one another. So much more information will be shared with us, but you can also join the BYP WhatsApp community link. A link will be in the chat where you can all join us as well to learn more about BYP Network and also any other upcoming events like this one. So thank you all once again for joining us tonight, and we hope that you leave with a lot of insights and also leave empowered as well. Thank you all once again.
Thank you. Okay. For those that want to join the WhatsApp platforms, if you could just send a private message to either myself, so to my private chat or to Okay's chat, and then we can make sure you're added to the WhatsApp groups. So you can just send her your name, phone number, and any other information you deem important, and your email address as well. We can add you to the subscription list. Yeah. We've got some powerful stories in the chat. Hi, Monique, founder of Mo Counseling, which is a therapeutic service for children, young people, and adults. I'm neurodivergent myself. I'm about to drive, so won't be able to speak or have my camera on, but I'm listening. Welcome, Mo. Hi, Heather. Welcome. Hi, Clara. Forgive me if I get the pronunciations incorrect. It says Ndija AY. Hello. Lachey Woodstock. Hi. Hi, Leah Gordon. Oh, from London. Hi, Opa. Is it Opa? Oprah? The founder of Irene Vera Foundation. All the way from Zimbabwe. Working with young people in UK and Zimbabwe. Hello, hello. Hi, Heather. Hi, Elsie. Hi, Sarah.
So, greetings, everyone. My name is Darlington Henacho. I'm a professional, that's the best. I'm a social worker by background. Been a social worker for well over 20 years now, with my primary specialty in child protection, safeguarding. I've done that for well over 18 years. And within that time, I've worked across all services within Children's Services Department, if you know very much about it. I used to be the PSW for West Sussex, which was my high-profile job. Did that for 2 years before coming to Jersey. In Jersey, I have managed what we call complex needs team, so children with disabilities team. And currently, I manage the autism and ADHD service here in Jersey. So the discussion today, I think we kind of played back and forth with the title, Children, Our Context. It's very much about neurodivergence in African diaspora, so those living outside of Africa and very much around their bread. So this is very much a discussion for professionals, for parents, and for carers. So I presume not everyone in this room or online are parents, but we're uncles, we're aunties, we're nephews. We've got relationships with little ones. So this discussion, our employers will be guided by dignity, cultural, and practical support. That is the goal. So just to give a layout of what we will be doing today, the structure, we'll go through welcome agreement. We'll talk about neurodiversity in plain language. I see that some people are very experienced in that field, but this is just the simple terms, just so that we all have a baseline understanding. And then we'll dive into the context, which is very much about the stigma, the fear, and the expectations of having young ones with neurodivergent needs. We will look at the misinterpretations, which is normally from behavior to the story and the responses that comes with that. And then we've got a group session. I'm very pleased with the numbers that we have. It's going to work in terms of we've got 6 scenarios that we would want people to engage in, discuss, share ideas, and be part of. Then after that, I would want to talk about some parenting tools that can keep authority and reduce harm. This is just just sharing some little tips. There's no magic bullet to any of this. We'll talk about the school system here and how to ask for support, then pathways to GP, special educational needs, community support, and then we'll round up with takeaways and next steps. So if we are to dive into the agreement, next. So what we're agreeing to today, I hope we all signed to this, is to share learning, not names. So not naming anyone, because this is just about open discussion. We're not here to diagnose anyone or to look at diagnosing ourselves. That is not the purpose of this discussion. You can step in and step out, if it gets too much, if there are any trigger words or trigger scenarios that come up, and to agree that impact matters. It's very much about the impact and what this means for us. So I'll be coming from a culturally humble perspective with trauma-informed, strength-based, and be practical. That is my commitment to yourselves. Yeah? Good. Group chat, it will be good to just keep an eye on that in case. If you've got any questions as I speak, please drop it in the chat. So moving on, the question is, why does this matter? Why does this conversation matter? Why does this topic, why is it worth discussing? It's because of the love, pressure, and judgment, because in real time, these things collide. And when you look at it from an individual standpoint, it also has an impact on us. But when we split it and we look at the parents, what they're carrying, and when we look at the children, what they're carrying, I just try to break down a few simple lines there. So for parents, they're carrying the reputation. People will say, I can't control my child. I mean, when we have, as part of the discussion, you can reflect as to how it impacts you. If you've got anything to add, please do. It's not just about me talking at you. It's survival lessons from our own upbringing. So we tend to parent based on how we've been brought up. There's a lot of nuances that we don't talk about, or certain things that we just inherit because that is how we do it. There's the stress around migration as well, long hours work, little slack. You're meant to be towing a very straight, thin line, there is no give. And that brings pressure as well, because one thing I do know is that we have to be twice as good to be in the position that we're in. So that also brings its own added pressure. Racism outside plus the judgment inside, a combination of that just means that you have to be upright, shoulder up, chin up at all times. But when we look at it from the children's point of view, what are they carrying as well? They're misread as being rude, lazy, or defiant. They're trying to make sense of what's going on. They're overwhelmed, and it looks like bad behavior because of their, reaction to what's going on for them. Masking is a significant one because they're constantly masking or pretending, if I'm to use that word, to put it together, to hold it together. We all do as adults as well. So you can imagine from children's point of view what that means. Shame when helps arrive late. So it's very much, that's if it arrives. There's that shame element of, I'm not like auntie so-so-so's daughter, or I'm not like, in families, even the sibling rivalry, they try and compare maybe the first and the second, or the second and the third, and that is just added pressure, and they carry all this. So like I said, we're not diagnosing, so it's a no diagnosing, no blame, just clearer understanding, kinder responses, and a better pathway to support. So this is just us talking about what matters to us, how these things impact us on a day-to-day. So I'll start by just talking about neurodiversity in simple terms, what it is. Neurodiversity, we are not all neurotypical. That is one thing that's for sure. We all have a certain element within us, but it's to what degree? Because our brains are different, our wiring are different, and it's not a moral failure, neurodiversity. So if it's ADHD, if it's autism, if it's dyslexia, there's just a whole range of them. So it's normally a natural variation as to how the brain works. And when you speak to the specialists in that field, they will tell you, even Tourette's. And if I digress a bit from growing up what we know, and I say this because I think most of us are born in the 90s, 80s, some people 70s. I'm not asking for anyone's age, but yeah. You find that disability was what it was then. If you had a cousin that maybe had one bad leg, or they treat it differently, they looked at differently, but that's physical disability because you can see it. But now things are becoming more open. There's a lot of awareness, and you find that neurodiversity, you can tell. Some presentations you can, some presentations you cannot. And it cuts across a whole spectrum, because you'll find people that we try to move away from the word high functioning in neurodiversity language, but you find that some people use that, some call it special powers, but that talent to a greater advantage. Other people, it affects them much more negatively. So those traits can be strengths or can be challenges, depending on how and what your brain wiring does for you. Support is about to fit, not fixing the child, because it's why can't you be like, why are you not doing this, why are you not doing that, rather than what's happening for you, how can we support you. And what neurodiversity isn't, it's not bad parenting, it's not no discipline, because you find a child in a restaurant can, due to sensory overload, begin to respond to that, and then they'll just think, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, she can't even control a child, rather than trying to understand what's going on for that child. It's not always visible, like I've tried to highlight, and it's not something you can beat out of a child, because that is the default setting from African parents. Let's beat this madness out of this child, because they feel that is the best way to deal with it. So that is not what neurodiversity is. So, and behavior is about communication. Our job is to understand the message and teach skills with warmth and structure. And when we say understand the message, is whatever presentation that young person is giving that child or young adult or adult as us, we're trying to communicate in a different way. The important thing is, are we listening, and what we're doing to try to listen. Next slide. So that then takes me to the context itself, how this works for us. As I want to believe we are Africans, and I'm sorry if we've got anyone here that is not African. It will resonate with you, because in the UK, it's the ethnic minorities, or in some people call it global majority. But we're very different. I've just put down there is why this stigma lands harder and louder. It's because we've got that from the outside, and from the inside there is that expectation to be, like I said earlier, be upright, do things in a certain way, and not be different, or dare not to be different. And if you're going to be different, you must be bringing the big box, because then you'll be let off. Then they'll be like, okay, you're unique. But if you're not bringing the big box, then there's something wrong. So the pressures that shapes our responses is the respectability side of things. Behaviors must reflect on the whole family. So if one person is behaving that way, automatically they view it as what is happening to everyone in that family, or they don't know what they're doing. Safety, many of us were raised to behave to survive, and survival is key. That is what, and if you strip it back, it goes generation, goes a lot of generation back, because that survival instinct always kicks in. What we need to do to earn the next box, to have a house, to have a car, to pay for what we need, as to, you get it from your grandparents, the generational wealth as you would have in other cultures. There's a bit of a difference there. And someone's dad passes away, they're like, here's 20 grand, put in a will for you. And they just take it that way. But for us, when I say us, I'm referring for the Africans. If your father doesn't have a land to pass on to the next one, and by the time it goes to the third, fourth one, the land is finished. So what's going to get on given to the next? So it makes it very different for us. Someone says they can relate. Yes. What else? The migration reality: less time, fewer support, more stress. I mean, when I say that, it resonates with us. The less time, and for those journeying from Africa, is here we don't have as much time. There's a lot of chilling in Africa. You chill, you just do things in your own time, after work, you go for a beer, all of that stuff, you relax. You don't have that here, you're on the timer. You have to be there at 6, then at 7, then at 8, then at 9, then you have to wake up again, then it starts. Less time. You don't have all that leisure. Fewer support. We're here by ourselves. Unless you build that support network, you don't have uncle and auntie that would have to look after Johnny whilst you just go to a wedding, or you go to a wedding that they've not been invited and you take all of them along with you. It doesn't happen here. If they're not invited, they're not invited. So less support, and obviously that brings more stress. The community judgment, and this is within us. What would people say? Sometimes those outside of culture don't really say much, but we set ourselves those standards and we judge ourselves, and it just doesn't help at all. Racism, your child is already being watched differently. That is not even anything being said. What other children could get away with, your child will not get away with it, because they will either tell me that you're too aggressive, or you're not being brought up properly, or language barrier, or not doing well. So a lot of these things just put pressure on us as parents, or as carers for children with neurodivergent needs. What stigma often sounds like, what you hear is, that's not autism, it's rudeness. And you're thinking, really, how did you work that out? You just need to beat them. Obviously, you know where that's coming from, because that's what parents would say, or older parents would say. So grandparents, great-grandparents would be like, you just beat them because that is how, they grew up. They're not doing it on purpose. They are doing it on purpose. Don't bring shame. And that is very powerful, because that is one thing that just keeps ringing in your head and just constantly. So that is about stigma. Then what is really underneath that is the fear for the child's future, because you want your child to be doing well. And the greatest fear for a mom is not being there for the child when they need it, when they need them. So that raises a lot of concern, exhaustion, protectiveness, as we know. Old lessons about control and respect. When we say old lessons, how you've been brought up, you do not say this, you do not speak back, and all that kind of little things, nuances that we've learned. So we're having to reshape these things and to understand it for ourselves.
Yes, sometimes you take them to the pastor to be healed.
Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because they feel there's something spiritual going on, or you've been attacked from village people. Those things are just inherent in us, and it's just getting us to understand, or we need to be aware of these situations. Because honestly speaking, there's probably nothing wrong with them. It's just that you're not communicating. They've got their style, you've got your style, and it's jamming. You just need to adjust to them. Yeah. And most of us would have young ones, or would know someone that's got neurodivergent needs. So it's just being aware. And all of them, just coming from a parenting angle. When I first wrote it, I wrote it based on professional. Then I spoke to him like, I know, because professionally, there's a whole shebang around that. And we deal with these things every time. So the misinterpretation map, what I try to do is to put together, I think is the next slide, about behavior, what's often misread, might be, and then support moves. So it starts with can't sit still and fidgets, constantly fidgety, or just wanting toys or something to play with. Then it's often misread as disrespect, no home training. Because sometimes when you sit with elders, when I say elders, people older than us, they expect you to just sit still and be mute and be quiet. Some people can't do that. It just doesn't work for some people. And if you see how the world is evolving now, when you go to trainings, there are various ways to which they'll say to you, if this works for you, just do that. If you want to play fidget toys, do that, as long as you're getting the information. But we often misread it that way. What that means is that the body just needs movement. It's just how the brain is working. The brain is that, if it's just moving the hands, or just rocking, or doing something else, just to counterbalance what's going on for them. if it's ADHD, some medications work, non-stimulants, it stops the dopamine being retaken and all that stuff. Not all ADHD takes stimulants, some take non-stimulants, and autism, there is no medication. It's just understanding the sensory needs, the plan, and all that stuff. So it's just understanding them. And what might support that is movement breaks, fidgety tools, because, it's just little things. It's just understanding what those little things are. Avoid eye contact. Now, this is a big thing because different cultures, even within Africa, if you're talking to an adult and you're looking at them, you're rude. I've had various experiences here. What someone said, also, should we not research about how slavery has had massive impact on how older generation view mental health and things such as neurodivergence? Yeah, I mean that is diving into the historic part of things. We need to focus on what we're experiencing now to address that. And I could imagine you're writing what you're saying. I don't see the name Leah. That is where this is transcended from. But what we're having to do now is to break that cycle to understand what we're faced with now. Because, and yes, to challenge those stigmas, challenge those views. In some cultures, I mean, mostly also in the Western world, if they're talking to you and you can't look at them, and they think you're being rude. So one singular action, one culture sees it as rude, another culture sees it as challenging. And another culture sees it as you don't care, you're not listening. They want you to maintain eye contact. So it's understanding, it's just processing the sensory load with that and offer choices to reduce pressure. Because the key thing is, what are you trying to achieve from that interaction? To pass information or to gain information? How that works shouldn't be a hindrance to what you're trying to do. When they have meltdowns, which they would do, and we all have meltdowns for various reasons. The printer is not working, you spilled hot coffee on yourself, or partner says something to you that you didn't want to, you weren't expecting. When you relate that to children, different things. It could be they want this toy and you say no, and they just go off. So sometimes it's just seen as tantrums, manipulations. What that might be telling us is that they're overwhelmed, nervous system is flooding, so it's to calm first and teach later. But we try to teach in that moment. That is the time to correct, and that is wrong. There you go. Biblical things coming now, So that at that point, the brain activity is not going to accept any information. You just need to calm down, and then you're like, okay, let's talk about what happened, or what do you think was going on for you? It's just looking at different ways to address, issues that we go. And you would know from history or from, our life experiences that doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result is just a waste of time. Because what we've always done is, we'll beat you and correct you at that time. But it never works, So it's just trying something else.
To also learn how to self-regulate.
Yes.
Because I can imagine in a high-pressure situation, maybe you're in the middle of town or you're trying to order some food, and then suddenly there's this tantrum, and then how do you manage?
So the interesting thing is that with time, as adults, we know how to then regulate. If it's a 6, 7, 8-year-old child, that is what they know is what they're doing. If you then mirror that to a 30, 40-year-old person, they would know to calm down and then revisit. Now, if that 40-year-old is autistic, that is what they know. And people that work with that person would have understood. I mean, if you've done some sort of care work, or you've worked with people that have needs, you get there, you see a care plan. The care plan will say, if he's doing this, you do that. Countermeasures to make sure that you understand what's going on. But why don't we apply that to what we do or our kids?
Care plan as well.
Yes, yeah, you can have a care plan for your kid. Let's not worry about the name, but what you're trying to achieve is to provide that support. provide that support to understand, because that way you then communicate better with that with your child, or you communicate better with your cousin or the adult. But as adults, as we grow older, we learn to self-regulate. We know if you go to a queue and you kick off, everyone's going to start looking at you like, what the hell is going on? You know, but a child does not care. In the supermarket aisle, he will kick off. And then the shame then becomes the person looking after the young person. So these
questions, or is that question left?
no, you can ask questions as this is discussion.
Just so you child and needs support, like maybe it's autistic or has ADHD. Is there a certain age at which the boat has sailed? There's nothing you can do. You've already made all the parenting mistakes and you can't get on track, or is it any point in time you can learn how to deal with that child and then it still has the same effect compared to a parent who had all the information and was able to deal with it from birth or from whenever? Is there a certain age where the boat has sailed, where that parent, you can't do this anymore?
What I would say is there is no boat sailing cutoff. The reason I say that is children as young as 2, 3 can be diagnosed with autism. And I've got people on my list as I speak to you, 60, 70-year-old waiting for an assessment because they're trying to understand. And you're saying, what do you want out of this? It's like, oh, I just want to know. I've been doing this, or my relationships, I've been taking risky behaviors and all that stuff. These are some of the things that we will look at when we do ADHD assessment or autism assessments. So that 8 lifespan, there is no, it's a process. You just keep learning. So for us as parents or as carers looking after young ones or even siblings, it's understanding what that need is. It's all needs-led. And that needs-led, I'll come to it in a bit, it has to be in different environments. So for a child, how they behave at school, how they behave at home, how they behave in the community has to be consistent for it to be neurodivergent. So you can't have a child at school can't concentrate, but at home will sit there, reading a whole book or go out, concentrate. Then it's not necessarily. Then the question is, what is going on at school for him that is distracting? When you go for an autistic assessment or ADHD assessment, which is the ones I'm going to use, or even say dyslexia, you're not going to say studying at home, you miss words, because that's what dyslexia is about, missing words, say his instead of has, or it depends on the level when they do an assessment. But when you're doing something else or you're studying something very interesting, then you don't miss words. That is not really dyslexia because it's going to happen throughout, consistent. Just a little insight into an example, autism assessment. When we do autism assessment, we want to understand what be it adult or child was like when they were 4 or 5, very key age period. And we want to understand what was happening then and then compare it, if you're 40 now, it's what's happening now. Your autistic assessment is not going to be based on what's happening now, it's what really happened then. So it's understanding and learning the child and what is going on for them on an ongoing basis. So there is no boat sailing, is what I'm saying. And it's an ongoing process. You just keep your records, make notes, understand. Because even if you sit now for an autistic assessment and they start asking you the questions, it will come to your head because you'll be like, oh, yeah, he did this. Oh, he says this, or this is his routine, or this is ritual. And then that gives a picture as to what it is. Then the question is, what was being done when those behaviors were being noted?
But there was just a follow-up to that. For me, it's more so the support. So if they received an early diagnosis, for example, for 2 years, 2 years old, 3 years old, then you start off with the support at an early age, right? So that gives them a better chance of, let's say, a brighter future.
Yes.
So question is, for me, what if they receive the diagnosis at 16 years old? And we're only now starting to understand that, oh, okay, it's because of autism. And then we're now applying all these supporting mechanisms. Now, that's a later age in life, right? They're now 16 years old. Do they still stand the same chance of coping, per se, with the child who received support at the age of 2, in comparison to them
who are now older? Yeah.
18.
So that's an interesting question, because there's always going to be the quality of life is going to be different, because if you catch it early, when I say catch it, I have a plan early, understand them better early. At say 2 years old, you will find that your interaction, the support, where you go, how you do things for them, and then your life as well would modify around that support mechanism. Now, if it's someone at 16, what would have happened is that they would have been struggling for that whole 14 years, but now they've seen the light, like, oh, okay, this is what's happening to me. Another good example is if they were like 30 years old now, and they start questioning, why was this relationship breaking down? Why was I not staying in jobs? Why was I having risky behaviors? That would support. I'll just drop this because I don't want to go into it deeply. It's very important. There are quite a number of them that end up in the prison system. And in that prison system, the offending rate is higher because it's not changing. It's like, oh, you did this, bum, 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 locked up. You lock them up, no neurodivergent needs. You release them after 18 months, they will still do the same thing. That sometimes you see them, it's like, how many times? Oh, this is my 5th time coming to prison. And you're thinking, what's wrong with you? It's because the root cause has not been addressed, or nobody has been able to pick up that it's because of that ADHD need or that autistic display or behavior that keeps making them going back. Because once they're locked up, they're in a safe place. They can't really do much. So you don't really understand what is going on for them. So to answer your question, yes, it's going to be different. But the most important thing is identifying it and tackling it early. Yeah. So it's really important that we have that awareness. One thing that's happened is since COVID, and in Jersey specifically, what we've had is we used to have referrals for autism and ADHD at that level. From 2021, it just went that way. It's gone like 1,000%. Why? Because there's greater awareness. So why is the other cultures, if I'm to put it that way, are catching up our understanding? We're a bit slow, and our culture is holding us back because we're not letting go, we're not believing. In children's services, I've worked with families where they're like, this is not, like, oh no, there's no such thing, in denial, no such thing. And they deny for various reasons, be it spiritual, be it whatever. They just cannot accept it. Being open, accepting it. And some of them, the autistic trait is just glaring. I just look at them and I think, listen, these are the 2-3 behaviors that I'm seeing, and they're autistic traits. Yeah. So there's a misinterpretation map, being forgetful, talk back. So you say they're arrogant, but that is how they present. I'm not trying to give the picture that it is normal or they should be talking back, because we have certain ways that they should do things. So it's important that we understand, okay, what could be behind all of this? Yeah. So if the story is bad child, we will punish, because it's just, a bad child will punish. But if the story is that you're struggling, straight away you're thinking, okay, how do I help this struggling child? Yeah. Okay. So I think my next slide is about the scenarios that I was going to get people to activities to do. And yes. So I've got 6 scenarios, and I don't know how many people are online.
37.
37. So if you can split that in 6, 36 will be 6. So one group will be 7. And we just give each scenario to the group. Ideally, what I'm wanting you to do, it's not a big read, it's just one line. Just think about it, talk it through. What stigma or misread do you think is happening in that situation? What might the child's need be? Because like I said before, if you see the child as misbehaving, you punish. If you see the child as struggling, you would give support. And what responses keeps authorities and reduces harm? When I say keep authorities, you as parents, because parents like to have authority of what's going on. They like to have a hold of what's happening. So child talking back to you is like, how dare you kind of situation. But also how you keep your authority, but reduce the harm. So saying you're talking back at me, next thing is one hand wraps around their face is, why are you talking back at me? What's going on for you? And reducing and managing that. Yeah. Okay. So what we'll do after that, I think we'll just cut it down to 10 minutes. That should be enough conversation. We'll come back for each scenario. You feedback. You talk about you name the stigma, name the need, and say the script, just to give us an idea. So it's a no blame parent situation. I'm not asking you to diagnose the child or whether it's autistic. No, that is not what we're saying. Keep it practical and assume good intent and just address the impact. Does that make sense with people online? I'm not seeing any activity, but I'm just guessing yes.
Thumbs up. We're about to be put into.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're about to be put
Yeah.
into different
Okay.
groups online. Thank you. Okay, it's going to add us to different groups. We're going to go away, chat for 5 minutes. No diagnosis, just chat through.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we all back? Are we coming back? Yeah. First and foremost, oh, good.
15 seconds.
Yeah.
15. Okay. 8, 7, 6, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me online?
Yes, we can.
Oh, brilliant. First and foremost, let me just make one little disclaimer because I haven't taken into account the neurodivergent needs of this training because I haven't given any breaks. But I'd like to think that going into groups is somewhat a break. And I'm conscious that as Africans, we love to come late but leave on time. So we are going to whiz through what's left of the time and then get, because the next part is a lot of information I want to try and share with you that you might find useful. So group 1, who wants to feedback based on scenario 1?
Probably I will, because Benedict was a very good speaker in our group.
Oh, great. Okay.
But what we interpreted as collectively is that me being from the Caribbean
Oh,
and other colleagues, I should say here, other participants, where our grandparents, up till now, I can hear it in my head that the grandparents, their beliefs and values and how they grew up has a very great influence on us, or even that filters on to us, to even our children. But I think in comparison to how they've grown up, it's do as I say, and you have no involvement in that decision making. And one always has to listen. And if you were to answer back or sort of challenge, then the stigma is attached to it. You'll get beaten or so, or punished. So I think that was our basically our take on it. Is however they grew up, and yeah, however they grew up, it's the way that others or their children or grandchildren even had to grow up or have to grow up.
that's where the standard is set, and there's no deviating from that. So what you find in this scenario, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just a discussion, just so that we know. And oh yeah, someone has said Barbados, both parents mix African culture,
I'm
mix
next
American
door.
culture. Okay, yeah. So it's very similar, and very similar is that the child is rude, you're spoiling them, and nowadays this didn't exist. Which quite rightly, in their days, it wasn't known. Not that it didn't exist, it wasn't known, and there was a lot of masking that went with it. So it becomes stigmatized because they expect the child to behave in a certain way, and if that child doesn't do that, then the family is tagged with parenting issues or struggling, not knowing what to do with the child rather than what the child might be going through. So yeah, it's really helpful reflection there. Thank you. And it's good that you've given us that context from a Caribbean. The Caribbean, and I apologize, I started by saying, I keep saying African. It's the same. There is no difference. If you remove a Caribbean mom from the house and brought an African woman, it's going to be the same parenting.
It's the same.
It's the same. There is no difference. The only difference might be understanding the accent, but it's just the same situation.
Quite
But,
right.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
we look at scenario 2, please? Please. Who was in the scenario 2?
I was in that group,
Okay.
and I think I was the only one. But I think of those who are in the group, you can feel free to add to it. So it's not just me speaking. So scenario 2 was school labels, defiance, the teacher. Yeah. So if a teacher said that it comes in two different ways. From the Western perspective, you have the racism, but it comes in an indirect way. It's more it's more, you've got the stereotypes. So because if it's Western, we're more playing into the stereotypes of the boys in particular, they're so aggressive, they're this, they're that, they're too disruptive, that type of thing. But it definitely plays into the stereotypes that we face in the Western communities, whether that be in the UK or the US. In the Caribbean and African dysphoриas as well, it's a lot harsher, because then you are going to get that stigma, shame, and judgment of the parent, which then translates to the child, and then that child's behavior will become a lot worse. So how I would address that, I would ask the questions of what's going on with my child. I would talk to my child and say, even though I don't have children yet, I would say, is my child going through at school? Is my child getting bullied? Did something happen among family members where my child was in a very traumatic situation? Were they abused? Were they assaulted in any way? Because that also has an impact on that child's behavior. That child is communicating with you that something terrible has happened and I need someone to talk to, and sometimes I might not find the words to say that. From the educational point of view as well, I would also ask, if my child is struggling, what are they struggling with? Is it maths? Is it English? Is it history? Is it where they're sitting? Are they struggling to see the board? Is that type of thing? And then from there, I would probably talk to a teacher on how we can mitigate those issues and have a plan in place, system, if you will. So it kind of helps the child behave better, but also access that learning in a more accessible way, because it could be a various of other things.
Okay, thank you. And have you heard things such as, oh, he's distraught and defiant at school, and you're like, but that's not what happens at home.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, that's not what happens at home. And then the question is, oh, what's going on? Then the reason I say that is because it's a classic response, and it becomes a loggerhead. So they're saying defiant that you're like, no, that's not what happens at home. Then they say, oh no, that's what's happening. You're not doing what you should be doing. Just like, no, I do. And then it feels now the child now disappears from the picture. It now becomes a clash between the parents and the teacher. Yeah. So what I advise is bring the child back to the picture to say, oh, I hear that is not behavior that we would want. We think there's something. You've just given the right answers, but I just had to bring that in because I can see how it can very quickly go into a different tangent And trust me, what schools do and the system does is when they start labeling your child, then they start having chronologies, and then they start adding things. And you can find, oh, it was fighting. And what is that fighting? I took a pen from another child. It's like, but that is not fighting. But they've labeled it as fighting. And they will do that for children of a different background, because that is their interpretation. And then what you then begin to see is a repetition or pattern, repetition. And then when something not nice happens, they're like, oh, he's been doing this since he was in year 2, or he's been doing this for since last term. I guess, doing what? Can you name it, label it? What support is in place? What are you doing to ensure that you're communicating that information to the child? So, yes, thanks, Heather. Yeah. This is just to give us to generate some conversations, and you just hit the nail on the head there. Scenario 3, please. Just conscious that we haven't got plenty of time. Anyone from scenario 3? It's about church mock setting. Your child struggles to sit during service. People stare. Someone whispers about bad parenting. I think we've talked about this in the course of the conversation here, where a child is not sitting still. It's just misread as bad parenting. They don't know what it is. Rather than, the reason why I said church mocks is because it's a religious center. You're expected to, the course of the service, to just stay still. Not everyone can do that, and when the pastor or the mom is talking, it's meant to be dead silence. Not everyone can sit in dead silence that way. Yeah. Oh, in the yeah. Okay. Any feedback, just put in the chat. I'm quite conscious I need to give you the key information that I wanted to get across. This scenarios, so this hair and babbling appointment, similar situation, the sensory overwhelm, the buzzing sound or the blow dryer. Some children cannot sit still in that situation, and it's understanding that child's sensory needs. But as parents, you feel, it's like, oh, we can't sit still, I can't do his hair, and then you feel embarrassed about that situation. It's just knowing what the need is and how to support the child. Might be a fidgety toy, or understanding that the blower just sets off an alarm in their head, and how else can you, work around that. Scenario 5, sorry, I'm gonna have to whiz through this. Homework meltdown every night. Homework becomes tears, anger, shutdown. He's tired, and you reach for punishment. Now, the homework could be maths. Doesn't like maths. Do you understand what the blockade is in maths or in the literacy work that's been given? And their response to that is to give you that behavior. So it's understanding, okay, I see that. What's beneath this? What is behind all of this? Why are you responding that way? Can we try doing it a different way? Or there's so many ways to teach a young person, teach a child. And it's just we having to understand that. Or the time of the day. Is it when it just gets back from school? Because some children, if they say park, they're out. Why don't you say, okay, if you do your assignment, you can go to the park. You get, some children, you get the best out of them. But when they've been to the park and come back, there is no incentive, no motivation. So you're just going to get the tears and cries. Stop acting white, identity pressure. This is scenario 6. A child is told that they're too sensitive, acting white when they're asked for quieter structure. So this is very much wanting to get them to man up. This is an interesting way of saying man up. And we've all had that classic situation, white child, black child visits the home. Black child says, talking to mom, shut up, mom. And then the other child comes home and thinks he can talk to his mom that way. And you see plates flying. So just different context and understanding. I'm not approving that, but I'm just, highlighting the difference. It's like, where did you learn that nonsense from? Why have you, so it's just little things like that, but it's understanding that and understanding the identity difference within our cultures. So I'm going to give other slides later, but I'll just whiz through some of the key things I think we need to learn from this. So there's something about masking, which is the hidden cost. What masking can look like to us, it's about, holding it together all day, then you explode at home. That is why I pushed on that lady when she talks about behaving at school and not behaving at home properly. So it's like at school, it could be the other way around. At home, they hold it together. When they go to school, they just do what they have to do. They just misbehave. Or they hold it together at school, come back at home, and then you get it all. So it's understanding what masking looks like. Is it really masking? What's that? One is, those three settings, what's happening? We just need to be very aware. I've just talked about the white and the black kid visiting home. It's very much about copying peers and, wanting to be different, So it's just, those can be seen as masking strategies that they tend to perform. People pleasing, perfectionism, try to say yes, yes, yes to everything because they want to be seen as the good one or want to be doing the best that they can, or they want to be perfect. No such thing as perfect. No one is ever perfect. No one will ever be perfect. It's we work into a strength is what we say. It's just encouraging them. The silence, the shutdown, the withdrawals, those are all what masking looks like when children mask the real situation going on for them. It can lead to anxiety, lower self-esteem because the older they get. And with social media now, it's very bad because online bullying and all that stuff, it's just not a nice place to be. Burnout, school refusals. You'll be wondering why don't you want to go to school? We've talked about bullying being mentioned here. If they notice that they're different, they become a target. And it's rather than understanding what's going on, they will try and mask that because they don't want to give out a different view about themselves. The anger, the behavioral issues, family conflicts, and shame, those are, what it can lead to. It's just us trying to understand that. I'm just naming it because we know all these things. You guys can sit here and write it and talk about it. But sometimes these are hidden things that are not said or things that we don't think about. And we just go into our African Caribbean mode setting because of what we expect. So the parenting refrain from that, a child isn't giving you a hard time. They're just having a hard time. And it's understanding that. And we can keep boundaries and still lead with regulation and connection. So it's not giving them everything that they want. As I said, you can be authoritative, but with love and be very clear with those boundaries. Next slide, please. So parenting support that keeps authority. I just try to highlight things that over my years practicing and giving parenting advice. I'm not an expert and there is no expert answers here. We look for warmth and structure, connection and boundaries, support and accountability. So the key principles around that is about connecting before you correct. Like I said, wait for them to calm to correct them. It's not correcting them at that time, So, and then to connect is also having a relationship, build a relationship, build a rapport with your child, understand them, and then you correct them. That is why, give examples, you find that some children would rather take what the teachers say than what you say as a parent. It happens. Or they would rather go with what their peers have said than what you've said. It's not because they don't trust you, but it's because you haven't connected with them on that level. Yeah. Reduce shame and increase skills. So rather than trying to shame them, it's increase their skills. What are you very good at? Support them in that way. Predictability beats punishment. And that is very key. That comment alone is very loaded because if you know that if they wake up at such and such time, or if it's bedtime and they're not in bed, the next morning, this is what's going to happen, you then predict and plan that ahead to stop it from happening, rather than when it then happens, then you punish them. I'm just giving very basic examples because there's so many situations that way. If you can plan it ahead or predict what's going to happen and put measures in place, you're going to avoid punishment. You teach regulation like literacy. Well, what we teach is English, maths, but we don't teach regulation. Okay, I hear you. Calm down. Naughty corner is a very good way of teaching regulation. It's like naughty corner, you've been naughty, go and sit in that corner. That is primarily, technically, regulation kind of teaching mode. Timeout. Take a timeout, relax, recharge, then come back. What firm and kind sounds like. This video is blocking my view. Anyway, you can see it there. It's, if your child is the one that lashes out and all that stuff, it can be hard. I'm not saying this is that easy, because in the heat of that moment, there's a lot going on, a lot of, emotions or reactions or, outbursts and all that. But once you understand the core principles of what you're doing, it will make it easier. So if your child is one that hits you, it's like, I won't let you hit, I'm here. No, if you hit me, I'll hit you. You're already setting a conflict there. A fight. Yeah, who will win? If you do this, I'll do that. No, you just say, I won't hit you. I'm here for you. You just let them know. We will resolve it, not shout it. Try again, I'll help you. We do that by default. Try again, I'll help you. We'll do that again. Your feelings are okay, but the behavior is not. It's getting them to understand emotions. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to cry. Those are emotions. But the behavior, doing what comes from that, is what's not right. It's teaching that. So small shifts that changes the house. Short instructions, not speeches, not giving multiple instruction. If you just give one short instruction, that helps. 2 acceptable choices with clear consequences and clear and calm tone. It's either A or B. You choose. Let them choose. And then you're like, if you choose this was going to happen. Please stick to it. If you shift the boundary the first time, you are going to shift it again. And by the time you know it, you just lose that. Repair after conflict is very good. I didn't handle that well. Let's restart. As African parents or siblings or older ones, that is taking that accountability is very hard, because you then feel you're shifting ground. So it's just being aware of that as well. Game has left my. Do you want to click on the next one for me, please? Yeah. So the next one is the practical tools at home that I've just put out. It's about simple, repeatable, but not perfect. Just press enter. If you press enter, it will just take it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Routine and environment, communication, quick de-escalation sequences. For me, that is very vital. If you don't take anything from this page, it's to lower your voice, fewer words, give space, often water and breath, and solve later. It doesn't have to be, you always let things calm down. And that works 90% of the time. It's just us being fully aware of that. So when I talk about routines and environment, it's obviously the bedtime routines, transition warnings, understanding, using timers, movement breaks, go for a walk or take a time out, come back, quiet corner, like I said, sensory kits. Communication is just knowing what to say, naming the feeling. I know you're angry. I know you're sad. It's important to name it, because it just helps regulate, and it helps them manage that situation that might be occurring. Describe the next steps or the next step, because they need to know what's going to happen next, rather than leaving it vacant or void, because automatically the mind will fill the next steps with catastrophizing or the worst case scenario. Praise effort, not personality. Well done for doing that, not because you're a good boy or you're a handsome boy. No, it's just name. It's like us at work. When you get feedback on what you've actually done, not well done. Well done for what? You need to be specific. Name what you're praising. Use when and then. When shoes are on, then we can go out. When this is happening, then we can do this. So that's just more about the next steps as well. Depending on what is the trial or error. Yes, Heather said. Next slide, please. Talking to families without war. So this is very much about the wider family, and the bridge phrases. and getting people on board as well. Because if you're doing it, or if you're practicing it with a good understanding, and then your cousin comes or the uncle comes and does something, and you're confusing the child. So it's having those conversations with them, or the grandparents, which is good luck to you, but you have to do your best to help with those bridging conversations. I hear you. You're still teaching respect. You're still teaching it differently. Let them know. Talk to them so that they know that this is the route that you're taking. This is how you're trying to address that. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation that helps us understand better. These are bridging words. So to get them on board, we don't shame this child. We support and we guide. So you're like, no, that's not what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Please don't label them. If you're unsure, ask me privately. You're taking control now. You're having those conversations with family members as well. Yeah? Giving a rationale helps. Yes. If someone says, in my day, which you would hear, in your day, we didn't have the language, which is true. Or we know more now than we did. We can do better. The goal is the same, a thriving child, because rather than them thinking you're trying to spoil the child and then they're the ones that are trying to train the child how, we both have the same goal. So it's having those conversations. And I put they're talking to families without war, because that is a sticking point, because they will think, oh, you're siding with the child now. You don't know what you're doing. It's just taking control. And then I put that if they go spiritual. So faith can help us stay compassionate, and we also use support tools, and we can pray and still get help. Yeah. Next slide, please. We're almost there. Just a couple more. School and systems in the UK. So this is what I was talking about. Support should be needs-led, not diagnosis-led. You don't need the label to know what you're doing. You just need to know what is going on, because you're seeing it day in, day out. And that is when you should get support. Not until some psychiatrist or some doctor is giving them this label. You need to be clear. So what you need to ask school for is observations across settings, a simple support plan, adjustments to what's going on for the child, breaks, sitting arrangement, instructions, regular check-ins. They should be able to do that for your child so that you understand what's going on. And then how you prepare for meetings with them. You bring 3 examples. So when I say examples, home, school, community. Gives a very holistic picture about the child, what's going on for them. Describe the impact, not the label. What is actually going on, what they're doing, and how does it make him feel, or what does it do? Ask, what support starts now? I think someone mentioned that. You kind of alluded to that. It's like when they're 2-year-old, or when what support starting now? Not when, now. What's starting now? What can you start doing now? Agree next steps and date so that you're holding them accountable. Yeah? A parent script, calm and firm. I'm not asking you to diagnose my child. I'm asking for support based on what you are seeing. Yeah? Don't be telling me you think the autistic trait when they've been... No. Okay, he's not sitting still. What can we do to support him sit still? Does he need sensory profile? Or does he need sitting adjustment? Or does he need fidgety toys? What is it? Let's agree on adjustment and then review in 6 weeks. Always review. Always review. Don't just leave it and disappear. Even if it's working, still go back and give feedback. Oh, 6 weeks ago, it's working. Just make sure mentally you go back and review what's going on. And that track is what helps going forward. I think I've got 2 more. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, you've gone too far. Yeah. Okay. Pathway to help, UK overview. Yeah. The help route, you start with your GP, help visitors. This is now it being practical, being real. So rather than give you the information and then you go, what do you need to do if you're faced with this situation? Share examples and the impact about how, and then ask about the local neurodevelopmental pathway. In Jersey, it's CAMS. If you don't know, if you're in a connection, contact me. I can always link you up to the opposite number in adult services. No, in children's services, I'm adult services to help. always request schools' input as soon as possible. It's very important. The educational route in Jersey, it's not SEND, but the idea is the special educational needs department is what it's meant to be. You need to be asking for that support. They need to have a plan. What does the plan say? How does the plan support him or her? Reasonable adjustment is needed. What is the reasonable adjustment? What are they putting in place? You need to hold them accountable because it's their responsibility. So keep it simple. Support diary is very important. You know, have a diary, just note down what's going on, what's happened, when, what was the trigger, what helped, how did it last for, and this turns the emotion into evidence. I say that very clearly because if you're not prepared, you go there, you will be emotionally driven. Then they'll be looking at you like, what's the evidence? They might not be saying it, but the question is for them. But if you go there's like, this is what's happened on this day, this is how it's happened, this is what happened, you know, you're giving very clear evidence of what the situation is, and they work better with that information. Yeah. And the last slide, you'll be pleased to know, for those that have to rush. Last slide, the takeaways. So what we do next matters, and then what we call it. So the takeaways I would leave you guys with is behavior is communication. Whatever you're saying, it's a way of communication, whether giving or receiving. Stigma often hides fear. So that stigma that you're worried about, there's something beneath that stigma. And there's a fear of something, whether it's they're going to be a failure or reputational or name calling or tags, there's always something. So always be mindful of that and ask yourself, what am I afraid of here? Then tackle it from that way. Warmth and structure works all the time. Support is not a shame. So if they say the child needs this and then like, oh, no, we don't do that. Oh, we're from African family. That doesn't run in our family. No, support is not shame. Please embrace it. So if you're going to do any step from today, choose one from this list that I've put out. Try one routine tool that this week. Have one school conversation if your child or your sibling or your sister's children, nephew, have one conversation with school. Talk to one family member using the bridging gap. Good luck to you on that one, but it must be done. Might need some boxing gloves, but if you use those breakdown conversation, it kind of disarms them. Start a simple support diary. Our children don't need perfect parents. They need steady adults who are willing to learn. And we are willing to learn. Yeah? So that is it for me. Thank you all. You have any questions? Yes, Crystal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What stage do you reckon we should be able to have the conversation with children to say you are different? At what stage do you have that conversation with the child to say maybe you behave this way because you've got ADHD?
Don't have that conversation. Tackle what you see. Because your question, if I rephrase your question, is at what point do you tell them you've got a label?
Yeah. Is this what is happening in the schools?
It shouldn't be happening in the schools because the schools cannot diagnose those. They might see traits and they might discuss it with you, but they start managing those traits and follow process for an assessment to happen.
So they're teaching other children. I understand they have these conversations around neurodiversity, right?
Yes.
So how are they teaching the children about that topic?
Like we've taught today. So I'm teaching. So the key focus and emphasis is to talk about what you see.
Yeah.
The need. Oh, I see that you're not sitting still. Do you think you might need a support, or you want to try this, or you want to try that? Deal with that. Then as it accumulates, so it could be a couple of other things. Then as a parent, there might be some neurodiversity needs here. We might need to give us, because if you came to me now for an assessment, I will give you a questionnaire. And that questionnaire, you need to fill it out, and then we'll use that to assess whether you meet the criteria or you meet the threshold for an assessment. Yeah? I will not be labeling until you've had that appointment and that meeting to say you've got the diagnosis. I would just try and stay away from it, because that is labeling. Because what that does is it stops you in track, because then you're thinking, let's wait until they've given you that to address it, rather than what do you need now for us to do?
Once you've given the diagnosis, we now know it. Is there any point in the child's, at what stage? Is there any stage where we're going to have this conversation to say, this is what, well, we had an assessment at some point.
Yeah, but they're not going to go into an assessment blindfolded. They know what they're going to the assessment for.
No, so they've already gone for the assessment. Right?
Yes.
And they are now, whatever, 16 years old.
Yes.
That conversation. Is there any point where you have a conversation with the child to say, this is who you are? I know it's late, but
Yeah, so the answer I gave you is when the child has not been assessed. When the child has been assessed, that assessment process is when they should know what's going on for them. So it's like you going to the hospital now, you've got malaria, and you go and you don't know what the doctor is treating you for. No, the age on is different. They know what they're going. We're going for your ASD assessment, autism assessment. What's autism? They'll ask you. Oh, autism, da da da. We'll see how that goes. It's the responsibility of the clinician to also explain that to the young person, to say this was happening there. Now that language of, oh, it makes you different. No, because it just tries to make the child feel out of place, out of sync. I mean, you've got neurodiverse needs that we're trying to meet. As simple as, oh, John does this. I'm like, yeah, that's John, but this is you. You're unique in your way, and this is how we're going to support you to meet that uniqueness. Yeah. So it's just reframing and rethinking how you go about, rather than, I hear what you're saying and where you're coming from, because it feels like if I tell him that he's got ADHD and that is why, it's giving him the reason as to why he's different, but he's not different. He's just unique in his way. So if you understand it as him being unique in his way, he does things in a different way. That is his uniqueness. We need to empower them, empowering language, rather than excusatory language. Oh, it's an excuse for him to do it. No, it's not. It's, you just communicate in a different way. That's all. Yeah. So just try to focus on giving empowering messages, supportive messages. I mean, you guys seen the lanyards people have on their neck. Yeah, beautiful, because straight away, if I saw someone with that lanyard, if you don't know, it's the sunflower lanyard, then you know that person is neurodivergent, but you don't know what it is because it doesn't say. It could be anything. It could be dyslexia. It could be autism. It could be anything. But what you know is there's a need. The question then is, what is that need? How do I find out? So when you then engage that person, you're conscious, or you're aware that there might be a need here, but you don't know. Sometimes it's good to say, what is your neurodiversity? And then they tell you. Some will tell you, right now, the new trendy thing is neurospicy. They tell you. Yeah, it becomes a badge of honor, I'm neurospicy. And the other ones will tell you, just so that you know, oh, I've got ADHD, I don't sit still, or I've got autism, or, I mean, the obvious ones like Tourette's. By the time, you'll be like, oh, I've got Tourette's, and then they start echoing things. So it's just been mindful that way. But we have to give our young ones empowering message. I can't have them, when I say them, other cultures saying that they've got superpowers, because that is what they say. And then for us, it becomes, it's not a disability. It is our own superpowers too. Yeah? Okay. Oh, we still got more people online. Any questions online? Any questions online?
Let me just have a look here.
Oh, someone has raised their hand. Sheba.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you. It was really, really informative and very, what's the word? Like a refresher for me. So, but I'd also like to say that we, as people from the global majority, we get it. But what is needed is this from this information, the cultural competency for the non-global majority to be better informed so that they can improve outcomes for our global majority families and children and families that they work with. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we can tackle that on a foot soldier level, whereby if as a parent, you know that you put it for, because one thing is that as global majority, we do that. Those other cultures, they do the same thing as well. So I say this sitting on the other side, when I see the demand or the request for support, and those that are not global majority can be very forceful and say, oh no, my child needs this, that. Then you find the global majority thinking, oh no, it's fine. They just have this kind of one leg on a brake, trying to, see if it's more a situation they can resolve at home, or if it's spiritual and all that stuff. We need to be forthcoming with asking and demanding these things.
Yeah, but there's that power imbalance, isn't there, sometimes? And people, like from the global majority, are not always as assertive in certain circumstances.
Or if they try to be assertive, they can be seen as aggressive.
Yeah, and misinterpreted. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's getting that balance, isn't it? But
it is getting that balance.
I think so my background is children families work. And I do some lecturing with a local university in the UK. But how can I explain it? That it's we just need to educate and raise awareness so that the white professionals that are working with our global majority families are better informed and able to support them and advise them correctly and have that understanding, like all what you've discussed. Really, we know this. It's been passed down from generations, but it's educating them, isn't it? And
I agree.
Bring the aware, for them to have that awareness, so that they can, not give. So sometimes, for example, in certain circumstances, there may be a more higher level of intensive service involved with a global majority family, but not so necessarily, and with a white family.
I hear what you say.
Same with the court. So I'm based in the UK. Same with the court arena, the criminal justice system. Same with the prison service.
Yes.
Same with police interventions.
Yes, absolutely. Discrimination all around. Oh, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, I agree with you 100%. And it's about creating that awareness. I mean, George Floyd situation, COVID.
Yes.
One of the work I did with Social Work England and the Principal Social Worker Network was to raise awareness around anti-racism, and that is still been ongoing. So now we're now drifting into neurodiversity within that space as well.
Sure. Yes.
Once they understand all of this their way, it also impacts us, and it's how that translates and how those behaviors also need to be understood. So I agree with you in the fact that we need to create awareness, and we need to create that knowledge, especially around cultural competence, also highlighting and teaching people social graces as well.
Yes, definitely.
Those are very key ways to get people to understand that we are all different, and we would react to things in a different way. So just as they make room for John Smith on the side, they need to understand that our children also need those kind of support. It's very important. So yes, I agree with you. and it's important.
It is.
Sorry, I've got.
We were just sorry, everyone. I think there are those that need to be released if we can release them.
Yes.
And we've put in Darlington's LinkedIn in the chat. So if anyone wants to add him or continue the conversation, I
Yes.
think if there's enough demand, we might bring you back for another session.
I'm more than happy to come back.
Someone was asking, have you thought about writing a book?
I saw.
Yeah,
I need to start getting my acts together. Yes, it will be a good idea.
Yeah, you heard that, guys. So every
Yeah.
time you see him on LinkedIn,
Yes.
yeah, where's
Yeah.
your book? Remind him. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, everyone.
Thank you
for
very much,
attending.
everyone. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you. If you'd like to be added to the BYP membership, please just add in your details in the chat so we can get that information. But that's all from us. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.